Although it is happy to be an extra-regional actor and play second fiddle, India shows more interest in the maritime issue between China and the Philippines. If you are viewing this video and are interested in learning more about Indo-Philippines news, you have come to the perfect place on the internet. Before diving in, don't forget to support the channel by subscribing. If we look at the relationship between India and the Philippines, which formally established diplomatic ties on November 26, 1949, shortly after their independence, shared ideals including democracy, pluralism, rule of law, independent judiciary, and free press have led to positive relations. In 1992, India began the Look East policy and strengthened its engagement with the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, improving bilateral and regional connections, especially with the Philippines. Since the implementation of the Act East policy in 2014, the connection with the Philippines has expanded to include political security, commerce, industry, and people-to-people interactions. Increased bilateral cooperation in several domains such as foreign policy, security, defense, trade, finance, tourism, health, agriculture, people-to-people contacts, and culture may be possible given the Philippines' current development trajectory. Bilateral relations between India and the Philippines have strengthened through high-level visits, telephonic conversations, and virtual meetings. This continued even during the COVID-19 pandemic. On the fringes of the 20th Association of Southeast Asian Nations India Summit in Jakarta in 2023, Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi and President Ferdinand Marcos have a quick, separate encounter.
Our partnership is entering its fourth decade. It gives me immense pleasure at this time to co-chair the India-ASEAN Summit.
President Ferdinand Marcos over the phone, congratulating him on his election as the 17th president of the Philippines. He reaffirmed the Philippines' significance to India's Act East policy and Indo-Pacific vision while wishing to deepen bilateral ties. In November 2020, Dr. Jaishankar visited Manila and met Mr. Teodoro Locsin, discussing the whole gamut of bilateral relations. Recent high-level interactions include state visits by President Shri Ramnath Kovind, President Duterte, and Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi. The yearly summits of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations have given leaders from the two nations an excellent venue for frequent contact.
From Prime Minister Modi, I will stop here and now invite His Excellency Narendra Modi to give his opening remarks. Sir, you have the floor.
Your Excellency President Duterte, ASEAN India Dialogue Partnership के 25 वर्ष भी पूरे कर रहे हैं। इस महत्वपूर्ण वर्ष के दौरान फिलीपींस
I compliment the Philippines for its able stewardship of ASEAN during this significant year, and thank you, Mr. President, for the excellent arrangements made for this summit.
India has helped the Philippines in several ways, notably after a significant rock collapse and debris avalanche in southern Leyte in 2006 and Typhoon Pablo Bofa in 2012. India provided $260,000 in relief materials and $150,000 to rehabilitate communities affected by Typhoon Remingdurian. In 2013, India provided $200,000 for disaster relief and $100,000 for the October 2013 earthquake in Bohol. Along with the relief supplies, India sent 15 tons after Typhoon Haiyan in November 2013. In July 2017, India provided $500,000 for relief and rehabilitation efforts in Marawi, a city under siege from armed terrorists belonging to the Maut Group. In April 2020, the Indian Embassy and community organizations handed over nearly $250,000 of face masks for COVID-19 frontlines to Secretary Lorenzana and Secretary Galvez in Manila. Support for the Philippines is not restricted to politics or economic exchange. India also assists the Philippines in trade and commerce, defense and security cooperation, bilateral investments, agriculture, health and medicine, tourism, science and technology, training and education, and culture. Despite establishing a trade agreement in 1979, trade between the Philippines and India remained negligible during the Cold War years. Major exports from India include pharmaceuticals, auto parts and accessories, mineral oils, meat, electronics, and electronics electrical items. Major imports include fertilizers, paper goods, mechanical appliances, and organic and inorganic chemicals. Even though bilateral trade hasn't met expectations, it has improved recently. India can help the Philippines develop its domestic connections and infrastructure, especially its aviation, rail, and road networks.
To look at global developments and continental developments with so much convergence, and to have so many economic complementarities that our joint commission will surely be very productive.
As you're well aware, the Philippines and India have also many converging interests, especially our commitment to a rules-based international order governed by international law and informed by the principles of equity and justice.
India and Japan might pool resources to support infrastructure-related capacity-building initiatives in the Philippines, keeping their combined investment objectives in Asia and Africa. Even though the Philippines and India are globally competitive in various service-related subsectors, particularly information technology and business process outsourcing, these difficulties could be overcome by collaboration and competition. Apart from trade, in recent times, defense exchanges have increased and become more significant in bilateral relations. The Joint Defense Collaboration Committee was established to promote defense collaboration. It met for the first time in Manila in January 2012 and again in Delhi in March 2017. During Modi's visit to the Philippines, a memorandum of agreement on cooperation in the defense industry and logistics was signed. Its goal is to establish a framework for bilateral cooperation and coordination in logistics support and services, as well as the development, production, and acquisition of defense materials. Thus far, bilateral defense cooperation has been limited to ship visits, disaster relief humanitarian aid operations, training and capacity building for defense personnel, and delegation visits by the Defense Ministry. As South China Sea tensions rise as a result of China's aggressive activities against Philippine warships, India has stated that it will always back the Philippines in maintaining its sovereignty. The Philippines and China have engaged in risky encounters in the contested Second Thomas Shoal, with the South China Sea potentially becoming a more prominent hotspot than Taiwan in 2024. The need for an association of Southeast Asian nations, China Code of Conduct, is critical to managing disputes and bringing peace, stability, and security to the region. Both countries have documented incidents and presented their perspectives, highlighting unfair encroachments on their sovereign rights. China argues that the Philippines violated its historical 9-line claim and involved extra-regional players, potentially triggering a war. The Philippines, supported by the 2016 Arbitral Tribunal verdict, has provided evidence of dangerous maneuvers by the China Coast Guard and actions against Philippine civilian vessels, including the use of water cannons and lasers to blind Philippine crews. The aggravating presence of extra-regional powers in the South China Sea could shift the balance away from China and its historical claims, impede the exploration of abundant oil and gas resources, and hinder China's ambitions to enhance its artificial islands and naval bases. India and the Philippines share a common interest in the Indo-Pacific, envisioning it as free, open, and inclusive. India has maintained strong ties with Manila, exemplified by the recent contract to supply 3 batteries of BrahMos missiles to the Philippines, aiming to counter the influence of China in the South China Sea. However, India is cautious about engaging in direct drills against China in the South China Sea, recognizing China's stronger position with control over many of the region's islands. India's primary focus is maintaining its presence in the Indian Ocean region rather than interfering in Southeast Asia's geopolitics. India should keep playing second fiddle in maritime issues, backing the Philippines in the South China Sea while concentrating on helping the Philippines on the mainland by investing in vital infrastructure. Furthermore, India may expand its marine trade with the Quad states and create a vast information network to support the U.S. in developing long-term plans. Working together, especially in green energy and offshore wind energy in particular, can assist the Philippines in moving away from its reliance on coal and provide a platform to observe Chinese actions in the South China Sea. By working together on green energy, the Quad members may be inspired to join the transition away from fossil fuels and make the South China Sea a center for offshore wind and green hydrogen production. Renewable energy sources can promote cooperation and partnership, in contrast to their fossil fuel equivalents, which frequently cause disputes. Expanded trade between the Association of Southeast Asian Nations countries and the rest of the globe could result from the growing presence of extra-regional parties in the South China Sea, ultimately promoting prosperity, security, and economic progress. The world community must view the South China Sea as a place full of economic progress and collaboration opportunities, rather than as a possible hotbed for the next Great War. Ultimately, the question is, why does India back the Philippines? The continuation of diplomatic relations between India and the Philippines is beneficial. India can participate in regional affairs by forming alliances in the Asia-Pacific area.
Allow me also to begin by thanking India for supporting ASEAN during the last non-aligned movement meeting, where India stood in solidarity with ASEAN, especially on our call to factually update paragraphs on the South China Sea in the NAM Ministerial Outcome document. ASEAN and India share a common vision for the Indo-Pacific region. We both envision a progressive Indo-Pacific that encompasses maritime cooperation to ensure sustainable use of maritime resources, particularly in tackling illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing, promoting the blue economy, and mitigating maritime pollution, amongst other issues. We also thank India for co-hosting the ASEAN-India Maritime Exercise.
Second, India believes that working with the Philippines has strategic advantages, particularly regarding marine affairs. India forms an alliance with the Philippines to offset China's dominance. Beyond these political spheres, India pursues numerous economic prospects. India gains access to new markets and diversifies its trade channels through increased commerce and investment. More significantly, India allows the Philippines to invest in India, which contributes to the country's expanding economy. India assists the Philippines in matters of defense and security as well. India wants to improve relations with the Philippines to bring stability. Additionally, both nations actively participate in the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, East Asia Summit, and United Nations memberships. Aside from these, India and the Philippines have several cultural similarities. Their artistic and historical heritage is centuries old. These two nations foster more people-to-people ties and cultural interaction. India-Philippines relations have improved over the past 3 decades, thanks to the East Asia Summit and the India-Asia Southeast Asian Nation Summits. However, more needs to be done to elevate bilateral relations. India could provide defense procurements, replicating its Vietnam model by offering lines of credit for acquisitions. This would allow the Philippines to diversify defense supply sources and contribute to Modi's Make in India campaign. Joint bilateral exercises are needed at all levels, particularly for stronger counterinsurgency and counterterrorism preparedness.
As two seafaring nations of the Indo-Pacific, our maritime cooperation holds great potential. Last year, we signed agreements on enhanced maritime cooperation and white shipping.
The Philippine government's profound appreciation for the Indian Navy's immediate and effective response to the distress call of MV True Confidence, upholding a long-standing and fundamental maritime tradition, and ultimately resulting in the safe return of 13 Filipino seafarers.
India could also boost domestic infrastructure and connectivity by enhancing soft and hard connectivity. Trade between India and the Philippines is falling short of expected levels, and new investment and joint ventures are needed. Stay tuned for more videos like this. Thank you for watching this one. We'll see you again. Over and out.